All right. Well, I just came off of TikTok. Uh, if you don't know me, or even if you do, one thing you may or may not know is that um, I'm here, I'm there, and I'm everywhere. I love to do a lot of things. I love to practice a lot of things. And so I've been practicing because TikTok for me was really what I would describe as a turd tornado. Now, I don't really say it in such eloquent terms, um, but I remember when I first learned about TikTok, uh, literally the idea of it annoyed the living bejeebus out of me. And so a lot of my opinions about the platform was coming from other people and coming from, you know, a place of how does it show up in world politics and how does it show up in the community and what are the, actions and the behaviors of people. And it really was overwhelming. It still is. I still like there are so many parts of it where I'm like, what is even happening here? Um, but at the same time, just like this space, just like every space I've ever been in, it really is about who I am and how I use it and how it shows up in my life. And so I'm really thankful for it. It's been really cool to see just going on randomly to see who and what shows up, what pops up. And it really gets me thinking because, I am on X. I've known it as Twitter. I had made thousands of tweets before Teflon Tusk took it over. And but I secretly enjoyed the fact that it was turned to simply X because that's what you'll see on my passport. That's what you'll see on my driver's license. X marks the spot. X can replace a lot of things. And so I don't mind that, right? As long as all my thousands of tweets are there. At the same time, none of them are precious because how good is any space if there are just people who have a habit of going in and just disrupting or destroying your peace? And so that's why I love having these tools because I can open this up just like I'm live now. I can set an intention. I can post things. And I can open it up for other people to come in. But I'm also quite happy to practice alone, to make it a broadcast, to just put myself out there. Because if I had to observe and witness and know what I know, then much like when people see me when I'm not well, or much like when I've been assessed during times of great stress, um, the impact on my life can be quite substantial. So I both care and I don't care about these things. Part of going live, part of speaking up, part of sticking it out, part of holding on is literally coming from a place of, I think everybody should have access. So that's just me. Feel free to check in the chat if you like, and then I'll see you. I don't know if it tells me I can see I have a viewer, but it doesn't. I don't know if it gives me any other insights. But that's okay. You can listen in. That's the beauty of it, is we get to kind of choose our adventure. What I put in the detail, so my practice over on TikTok is currently anyway, is to read this book, which is Insight Meditation, The Practice of Freedom by Joseph Goldstein. This was published in 1994. And today I read part 4, which was covering off psychology and dharma. So ego and self, personality and transformation, psychotherapy and meditation, and Yogi Mind. And it was really kind of cool. And I had people that were kind of coming through just like this platform does. And then I had people who were just sticking it out. And it's cool because the insights after tell me, how long did people stay on average? How many people came through? And as a Reiki master practitioner, any evidence that people crossed your path at all is wonderful evidence that you're actually out there making connections, right? And so insight meditation is the practice and the act of learning to sit with our thoughts. I have been practicing mindfulness cultivation since learning the tools in 2007. And I've been a practicing Reiki master since that time too. And the connection there, it's not that I'm special, it's not that I can put on a fancy hat. Sure, I can light some incense and do a dance and pretend that I know everything, but I can do that without the title. But essentially Reiki, it's Japanese for universal life energy. It's the idea that everything that's alive is connected by life. And when one becomes a Reiki master or a Reiki practitioner, it just means that they've gone through the 3 stages. They've learned what Reiki is. So stage 1 is, what does universal life energy mean? What is the background of Dr. Mikao Usui's, pathway as an academic and going to learn from other cultures and learn how to embody practices for himself. And then, so then stage 2 of that is like how to practice on others. And when you're opening up a channel to say to somebody, like, I want to practice on you or I want to give you a treatment, there's a lot of trust that has to come from there. And then the 3rd level of Reiki being when you become a master, it means that you've put time in, you've gone through the practice, you've learned, you've been able to demonstrate. So I've applied that to 19 years of guided practice, guided meditation, Reiki treatment, and I certainly know who I've treated. I know who have signed up. I know who've asked for it. I know how those interactions went. And, but as somebody who puts themselves out there, like I do, anytime we open a door or a window, you just know that there's a whole pile of energy or people that will just rush on in and make it about them. Or they'll see it as a means to be able to take what they need or what they want. And so the practice of cultivating skills, mindfulness skills, physical skills, is to be able to stay in the world of consent, right? And mutual consent and mutuality and high regard for each other. So when you see people who are pitching their ideas, or you see advertisements, or you see, these like so-called experts, they may or may not be experts. They may just be a person that knew a book or got a book and knew what to say or knew or how to pitch it. And so when you come here and you look back, you'll just see I just show up the way I'm showing up. And every day is different. So what I thought I would do is, this is a card that I pulled. And an oracle is just, it's just a set of stories for reflection. But what I thought I'd do is take a couple minutes and just share it here. Because I can. So the card I pulled was Night Wind. Facing fear, subconscious release, and healing. This card relates to the disturbed sleep patterns, vivid dreams or nightmares you've been experiencing. Something is troubling you, yet you are not openly acknowledging this either to yourself or others. This unresolved issue has created fear and anxiety, which you have yet to resolve. Because of this, your subconscious mind is processing the issue as you sleep. The fear resurfacing in your dreams time and time again in various forms and guises. This is your subconscious mind's way of dealing with the issue and forcing you to face your fear. On some level, this is helpful. However, the only way this issue can be resolved is by consciously facing your fear. On some level, this is helpful. However, the only way this issue can be resolved is by consciously facing your fear. First, truly acknowledge your fear. Express it in detail by writing it down. Then share it by talking about it with someone that you trust. This simple process takes some courage, but it is well worth it. Acknowledging and expressing your fear are the first major step towards healing this issue. You will find that all will be resolved soon. And the affirmation that comes with this deck is, I share my fears and concerns with those I trust and love. There is nothing to fear. There's only love. All will soon be resolved. I am safe. I am loved. I face my fear and feel it dissolve in a pool of love. So that's from the Gaia Oracle guidebook, and Gaia being Greek, and the Greek goddess of earth. The other thing I wanted to share, because it feels like it jumped right out at me, and it certainly ties into what I'm doing here, what I do in my life, or basically the labels I have. But it's page 104 from Joseph Goldstein's book. And it's under the heading of Yogi Mind. And this section is talking about psychology and Dharma. So, Dharma being universe. All the things in the universe. So I'm going to read this section because I found it quite poignant. And again, this is written by Joseph Goldstein. He's still very much alive. He's been teaching and guiding and practicing these things for many years. This book published in 1994. If you think that mental illness only happens out there to someone else, you might have another look at the life of your mind. When we watch our mind closely in meditation, we learn that what we call mental illness is only a more extreme manifestation of something that happens to us all. Years ago, I was doing a month-long retreat in my room at the Insight Meditation Society. After a week or so, I started hearing conversations coming through the heating pipes. I thought they were somehow traveling from the center's kitchen through the pipes up to my room, which was quite far away. The conversations were, I believed, about a couple, both friends of mine. I thought I was hearing that the husband had killed the wife, and that nobody wanted to tell me because they did not want to disturb my meditation practice. Day after day, these conversations came up through the pipes. It got so bad that I actually went down to ask the kitchen staff what was going on. Why isn't anybody telling me anything? It seemed so real. We call this delusive imbalance Yogi Mind. Meditators on retreat sometimes experience so intense an identification with thoughts and feelings that they lose all perspective. Stephen Smith, a teaching colleague and friend, told me another wonderful Yogi Mind story. He and his wife, Michelle, were teaching a meditation retreat in Australia. The room he was staying in had two doors coming from different directions. One door opened off a bigger hall where the retreatants would often do walking meditation. One evening, Michelle came in to speak with Stephen, and he casually asked her why she came in a different door from the one she usually used. Just at that time, a retreatant had entered the adjacent walking room and overheard Stephen say, Why did you use that door? This was at 10 o'clock at night. At 4 in the morning, the yogi went into Stephen's room, woke him up, and said, "Why did you ask me which door?" All night long, the retreatant's mind had been obsessing about why he should or should not have come in that door. You can see how important it is to recognize yogi mind, both in the more obvious cases when it happens on retreat, and in the many and more subtle examples of it in our daily lives. Whenever you cannot let go of a thought or an emotion that is inappropriate to the actual situation, and when identification with the thought is intense and obsessive, then recognizing this phenomenon as yogi mind helps you to come out of it sooner than you would otherwise. Our mind can so easily get stuck in its own projections. Understanding how we have become stuck can make the difference between mental imprisonment and mental freedom. Such obsessive identification really is not so different from mental illness, and it can actually lead to quite severe mental disorder. When our mind identifies compulsively with particular thoughts or feelings, it becomes addicted. In those times, there is no ability to disidentify with the thoughts or feelings. And so our mind is afforded the great protection of mindfulness. We are swept up into a vortex of thoughts and emotions with no place of rest or ease in that state. Identification can also obstruct our communication with others. We become identified with a point of view, and that leads us to anger, defensiveness, or aggression in communication. The problem is not the content of what we are saying, but the sense of strong identification with the content. When there is little mindfulness and strong attachment, identification with our particular opinions creates polarity. So, it seems useful not to split mental illness off to somewhere out there. We all feel its affliction to some degree or other. And meditation can be the tool whereby we make ourselves sane. Yesterday, I attended an event that was organized by the Ottawa Police Service. And I've lived in Ottawa for 30 years, and I've had relationships with people who work in policing for many more years than that. I have personal connections with police in different organizations, so like in local police, in security, in like OPP, provincial police, RCMP, military. I've been married to the community. I've been ejected from the community, divorced by it, so to speak. I've observed and witnessed violence from individual officers and groupings of officers, and certainly from the culture of it. It just is what it is. This document, for example, so today is Saturday, February 28th, 2026. This is a document, this physical copy of it is a report from the Ottawa Police Service. It says the trusted leader in policing. And this document is full of questions. Ironically, it's also full of answers. The interesting thing about it, though, okay, is that when I requested it and I received it, it's partially redacted, from what I understand. But I sent it to a printing service. So there's, if you're in Canada, I think maybe the US has it. If you're in North America, it's a place called Staples. You can buy stationery there. They have printing services. Staples here in my neighborhood that I've used and was a customer of and is a customer of, or am a customer of. It's just around the block. There's actually other spaces, co-working spaces. There's a cafe in there, Happy Goat. Anyway, I sent this for printing. Now, this is a very, very sensitive document that's full of deep, deep personal information to me. And yet, somehow, the people who received the virtual order, the order from online, because I signed up to print it through logging in and doing the do and uploading. Somehow there was an error made and it got bounded, which one could see that as a bonus because now I've got this like bound copy of this moment. But it really also feels and seems to be a huge breach of my privacy, of my security, of my dignity. But ironically, this particular document is full of examples of that. But regardless, I'm not worried because I've been cleared in provincial court and criminal court because of how I am and because of how I react to stressful situations. And I'm going to tell you, everywhere you can imagine. I don't even know where I was going with that, just because of again, it's like every time I look at it. But if anybody's wondering, the complainant listed throughout this and in criminal court and in provincial court is Clint Crabtree. So I'll be saying that name most likely for the rest of my life. Is it a name that I wanted to say, or that I want to talk about, or that I want anything to do with? No. Not whatsoever. Are these the interactions that I wanted to have with Ottawa's police service? Mm-mm. No, because it definitely doesn't, like, what happened to me between August 19th, 2019, simply because I showed up to a flag raising ceremony open to the public, one that I have been at many times, and a group of people's choices. And ever since, like, it's woven into the fabric of now what I've been through. I'll let everybody know when the matter has been resolved in a meaningful way, or in an authentic way, or in a truthful way. Until then, please assume that the 30 years that I have lived in Ottawa, that people know me. People know my history, they know what I'm about, they know whether I'm a risk or not. Because in every area of life, work, home, community, local pubs, local organizations, non-profits, medical services, I continue to navigate additional barriers while others are free to be who and what and whatever they're doing. And a lot of these folks maybe have more work on themselves to do than to put any further energy into worrying about what I'm about. I don't know who is left. But these are the notes of 3 officers. I don't even know. to be honest. It's interesting because I think part of what's been redacted is Clint's address, which he used on September 3rd, 2019, to file in criminal court that he felt threatened by me. And his own words were that my social media said trigger alert. Now, Clint, I met Clint Crabtree, so to speak, via email in 2016, May. I had emailed the general manager of my employer, the mayor of Ottawa, who is the head of the employment in the city, and I think it was I forget the role in the city, and the mayor had made arrangements, and so and then Clint was supposed to come as promised and didn't make it. And then really I didn't hear much from him until I met him in person in 2017 at the Union Hall after I did a full complete training. And even seeing him in person, he choked on his own words. And he went down one path, and he sent me down many other paths. And so by the time September 10th rolled around, there were many, many, many people and instances and officers who didn't need to be involved or included or brought in, but yet here we are. So what is, what will be. You know, what is my business is my business. What will come will come. But unfortunately, there's not a lot that I can do. But to hope. And to try to learn what safety, security, and privacy means today. Now, I went down and I trailed on a path that can happen, but that's not my big point. My big point is yesterday I attended a pretty cool event for the Ottawa Police. This mug says ottawapolice.ca and then /drive2, so I'm going to be curious to check that out. In the middle of this triangle it says connecting and learning, and then it has members, work environment, leadership and accountability, and community service delivery. But, I love a good mug, so I'm going to add that to my collection. If you've heard me talk about rap, and you've seen me walk around with a lanyard, I call it my Wellness Recovery Action Lanyard because it's full of stuff that I've done around mental health and wellness. But last night, so as I was leaving the event, people were leaving these lanyards on the table. And I looked at the officers and thanked them for the event. And I said, "Oh," I said, "I was kind of hoping to keep this lanyard." And he goes, "You know what, sir? You go ahead and keep it." So I thought that was great. And because what it says is what is possible at Ottawa Police Service 2026. And being in so they had the event at the Chateau Laurier, which I haven't been in that building very much. But my gosh, it was friggin' gorgeous, first of all. Very impressive. They had snacks, which, if you've literally ever heard me speak, I love a good snack budget. The room was lined with tables and information and people that the people who signed up to participate, they could ask questions, they could see what was going on. And then in the center, and then there were these two huge screens, there was a podium. And then in the center of the room, there was it filled up. It was like standing room only, and even then they brought in a few more chairs, and then they had asked at one point, like, "Hey, if anybody has an empty spot beside them." But it was really powerful to hear about 30 Forward, which is a pledge that officers across Ontario were taking. It was really amazing to hear about the hard work that the local civilian police board was doing to improve the status of women and mums in the force. Extending and having available parental leave that wouldn't cause issues. It was really awesome to hear the deputy, or one of the deputy police chiefs, holding everybody to accountability for how we conduct ourselves or how the police conduct themselves, and really honestly even addressing what I would call the old dinosaur crew, that upper management that maybe has more opportunities to do more. But for me, it was just powerful to be amongst what I remember and what I, maybe I haven't experienced it personally throughout my life in certain times, but I, that spark where you feel pride, where you feel respect, where you feel like a hope, because it was a room of really just people from everywhere who want who are hoping to have a career with Ottawa Police. So life is complex, but my values, my ethics, my morals, my who I am, what I'm about, remains true. I am a soul having a human experience. that human experience can bring many roles. I'm a brother, uncle, cousin, nephew, son, sometimes a sister, depending on the vibe or the community, or what I'm wearing. My gosh, I get judged every day for wearing a big old yellow skirt to a flag raising, but I certainly proved a point, I think. Or maybe I didn't. It was an interesting experience. One thing I learned on on August 19th was just the power of high heels that are your size. Like the only boots I could find to drive my point home were two sizes too small. They were supposed to be meant for the parade, so in a way, I'm glad I used them in August 19 ahead of time, because I got blisters like you wouldn't believe. So always, if you're gonna wear high heel boots, always get them in your size if you can. The other thing that I was thankful for was for the organization that invited me to drive their float, because I was still recovering from blisters and some pretty stressful emotional times. So may this find you happy. May this find you healthy. May this find you in peace. And may this find you with hope. So, with time and patience and mutuality and accountability, all things will work out in the end. So, what is possible? Community service delivery, leadership and accountability, and members and work environment, and connecting and learning. They handed out these handy dandy journals, which, I did take some notes. Actually, why don't I? It's a good place to sort of reflect maybe on a couple of the notes that I took. And then I'll end the video, but so 30 Forward Initiative, talking about women in policing, and they're doing active recruitment right now. So if you or a woman that you know is interested whatsoever, there's some friggin' really amazing opportunities for mentorship and community building within policing across Ontario right now. I'm gonna need to read more because I wrote down 30% in an organization. I put 30% in an organization shifter. That was kind of I think what was being shared in that moment was that once 30% of an organization has representation, that it actually can change the culture in the organization. But don't Don't hold me to that. And representation is strategic. Love it. Because a strategy is a plan. Bold, creative, new solutions to old problems. Collaboration, empathy. Commitment matched with action. And then I wrote down civilian possibilities, casual term permanent, special constables, community policing initiatives, and volunteers. So any snooch, that's what I wrote down. That's where I was last night. And I now have a really amazing addition to my collection. Can't wait to sip from my new little mug and be reminded that just because some people have certain ideas or certain clout maybe or certain whatever, it doesn't mean that it has anything to do with me, even if it abuses or takes advantage of me. Pretty amazing when we look at what trespass means, right? And when we look at who and what gets prioritized. And you know, the nice thing about equity and equality is that really it should work both ways. (10:45 a.m.) I met with the complainant. Mr. Wright was seated in the front row of the seats at the meeting at the end furthest away from the door when I entered. (11:31, 11:32, 11:35, 11:37, 11:45, 11:55, 12:15, 12:30, 12:48. Mr. Wright was lodged in cell 13. It's a very polite way, I think, of seeing it. All right, well, that is that. Unanimously approved. This choice to ban Mr. Wright from property and can be made unilaterally by myself. Yeah. Anyway. All right, everybody. Well, the nice part of it is that was then and today is now. So, with that, I will invite everybody to consider what it means to face fear, our subconscious release and healing, because it is a process, but every single living thing deserves to live in safety and authenticity. Every person, no matter what they look like, where they come from, or what value they think they hold, deserves peace and safety. And that includes me. And my dog Bo. So we're gonna go for a little excursion. This video is gonna be about an hour long, and I just spent an hour and 20 minutes on TikTok. So I encourage you to take whatever time you need and to document your life, because every life is worth being documented. And history will know that I registered and support progress and safety and health and moving forward. So take care, everyone.